Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to today's presentation, and we're going to be talking about some bulking hacks. And now this will specifically be really useful for people that either used to grow up super skinny or number two are just naturally not a big eater. There's a lot of people out there, including myself, who actually enjoy eating food. So we actually have the exact opposite of actually like make sure that we actually stop at a certain amount so we don't eat too much, right? But there are some outliers out there. There are some people who just naturally grew up somewhat smaller and just naturally never were like a big eater. Like their appetite isn't super big, so they have a hard time hitting their required calorie goal in order to put them in a calorie surplus for them to bulk up, right? Really quickly, the term bulking pretty much reverts to like you being in a calorie surplus. So keep that in mind. Bulking means you being in a calorie surplus to help you gain weight and gain muscle that you want. So the first tip that I have for you is that now that you have found your caloric intake, like your calorie goal and your macronutrient goal, and you just simply have a hard time hitting that goal, let's say you have to eat 3,500 calories every single day, 180 grams of protein, whatever, carbs and fats as well. If you have a hard time hitting this required calorie goal, here are a couple tips to keep in mind to help you achieve that goal with a bit more ease, right? Because these aren't necessarily like hacks, like you can like cheat the system, like you still, at the end of the day, have to get the calories down no matter what. However, these are just some tips that you can implement into your day-to-day diet to make hitting that goal a lot easier. So the first tip I have for you guys is I want you guys to focus whenever you eat food is to focus mainly on high calorie dense foods. Now, basically what that means is that these are foods high in calories, but they're very low in volume. So a couple of prime examples of these include any type of foods that have fat. So think of your healthy fats. I will put a couple on the screen right here. Avocados, those are personally my favorite source of fat. They're super good for you. Plus, because fat has 9 calories per gram compared to carbs and protein, which only have 4 calories per gram, fats pretty much have over double the amount of calories per gram. So per serving, per like just volume amount of food you get, you pretty much get double the amount of calories that you do in fats compared to protein and carbs, which is amazing, which is why all fats are mainly considered like a high calorie dense food. So avocados, my personal favorite. I have at least one a day. They're phenomenal. Peanut butter or any type of nut butter. If you want to do almond butter, that's fine. Apparently, I heard cashew butter as well. It's really good. I've personally never had cashew butter before, but someone told me it's really good and it sounds pretty good as well. So any type of nut butter, it doesn't really matter really what kind you get. Just make sure that you get the crunchy kind. Kidding, that's a joke, obviously, but I prefer crunchy. I enjoy texture. If you're more of a smooth type of person, that's totally cool as well. I made a joke about this in one of the previous guides. I think it was in the macro guide. But when I first realized, because this was prior to me actually like weighing out my food and tracking my food, but when I first kind of like started eating healthier, right? I used to have I used to have peanut butter by the tablespoon, right? And I thought my tablespoon would just be 1 tablespoon, which is 15 grams, so just only 90 calories. But my actual tablespoon that I thought was a tablespoon was actually, when I measured it out on a food scale one day, was actually like 50 grams. So I was eating like 500 calories per tablespoon. And that was so easy for me to get down. So when people tell me like, oh, I have a hard time hitting my calorie goal, literally peanut butter is going to be your best friend. Buy a jar of peanut butter. And if you really just need 500 extra calories, just grab a big dollop and you'll easily have 500 calories extra just by you eating that spoonful. Like it is such a cheat code. It is such a hack. I did that on purpose, not even knowing or not even being aware of how many calories I was consuming. That's how kind of like danger it is. And so if you guys are trying to lose weight and you have a hard time sticking to your calorie goal, do not follow this advice. Like, please do not. Of course, you still need to eat your healthy fats, of course, but you have to be a lot more mindful. Whereas if you're bulking and you have a hard time hitting the required calorie goal, yes, peanut butter or any type of nut butter will be your best friend. A couple other things to keep in mind as well. Whole grains, they're usually filled with a bunch of fiber. So like your oatmeal, your whole grain rice, your whole grain pasta, all these foods, your whole grain bread, all these foods are, yes, they're a great source of carbs. However, they fill you up a lot due to its fiber content. Whereas if you were to substitute your whole grain products, like your whole grain bread, your whole grain pasta, your whole grain rice for white rice, white bread, white pasta, it'll make it a lot easier for you to get those calories down because it's more refined and all the fiber is pretty much been taken out of it, which is not a good or a bad thing. Like it's just more of a neutral type of thing, but this really comes in handy if and when you have a hard time hitting your required calorie goal. So if you're usually having whole grain products all the time and you're just like completely stuffed all the time, you're always super full and you're feeling kind of gassy now because there's only like so much fiber that you can really handle. And if you're trying to be in a calorie surplus while eating a lot of fiber as well, you're going to be spending a lot of time in the bathroom as well, right? So by you naturally having to eat a lot more calories, you're just going to have to make some wiser choices, meaning that you may not always opt for the whole grain version, which may on paper sound a bit healthier because it's got more fiber, all this good stuff, right? But with that said, there's only so much that you can realistically only like have from that until like you just are spending most of your time in the bathroom. And obviously that's not a fun time. So you can substitute the whole grain products for more white, refined products, like substitute the whole grain pasta for white pasta, substitute whole grain rice for white rice, substitute whole grain bread for white bread. All these small little substitutions will make it a lot easier for you to get that specific food down. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And last thing here is liquid calories. And it's quite funny because I give the exact opposite advice to people who are trying to lose weight and really have a hard time and who are really struggling to lose weight. I always tell them like, stay away from liquid calories and eat more fiber. Whereas for you guys specifically who are trying to bulk up and have a hard time doing it, I'm telling you to do the exact opposite. So drink your calories. So this means orange juice, apple juice, make sure that you get like the actual 100% juice version. Any type of juices are totally fine to have with like your breakfast, like have a cup of OJ with like your eggs in the morning or something like that. And one thing that I personally used to do, and this is such a game changer, is I used to make homemade gainer shakes basically. I used to have one of these every single day because I went through a phase when, my calories were super high and I just did not want to like physically eat the food. And so liquid calories, the reason why they're so powerful is that they don't really make you feel full afterwards. Like let's say, for example, you have a big bowl of oatmeal with a protein shake on the side with peanut butter on top and a banana, as opposed to you taking all those ingredients like the peanut butter, banana, oatmeal, and put it into a blender and shake it up with some whole milk. You're going to feel a lot less full by simply just drinking your calories, as opposed to like you physically eating it and chewing it and doing all that stuff, right? So liquid calories are going to come in really handy. And so the recipe that I personally used to make my homemade gainer shake was very simple. I'd used to grab 1 cup of milk. It could be 2% milk, almond milk, whatever type of milk you prefer. 1 cup of oats, 1 banana, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and 1 to 2 scoops of protein powder. I blended up together in like a quick little shake. Took like 1 to 2 minutes to prepare, super quick, and took like 1 to 2 minutes to like get down. So that in entirety took like 5 minutes to like prepare and to like fully get into my, body. And it has up to like 800 calories. And again, you can adjust the quantities depending on if you want more calories, if you want less calories. Like you can quite literally make a homemade shake that has 2,000 calories very easily just by adding more of the quantities. You can add some honey as well, maybe add some chia seeds. Like there's so many different things that you can just like add into a blender, blend it up, and just drink it up. That is such a big hack. So definitely if you have a hard time eating, try drinking your calories. The second tip I have for you here is meal timing. Now, this isn't like a huge kind of like deal breaker because at the end of the day, it all comes down to if you hit your required calorie goal, you are going to gain weight. And if you don't, you will not. Right? It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter if you're eating like 1 meal a day or if you're eating like 6 meals a day. However, with that said though, because you're bulking and because you're eating more food than you typically would, right? Which is why you're having a hard time hitting your required calorie goal. I would advise you to space out, or at least try your best to space out your meals more evenly throughout the day. I know a lot of people enjoy intermittent fasting, or a lot of people simply aren't big breakfast eaters. I personally, just to be honest with you guys, just to be real, I'm not a big breakfast eater. Like if there's one meal that I like hate the most, it's breakfast. First thing in the morning, the last thing I want to do is eat breakfast. But I used to have to sometimes kind of like force myself to eat breakfast just to like get my calories in, because if I were to skip my breakfast, if I were to like wait a couple hours until having my first meal, I would just kind of like be shooting myself in the foot, because now I need to make up for like all this like extra calories that I did not have in the morning. So by me simply not having a breakfast, I had to pretty much have larger meals towards the end of the day, which was just a really big struggle, right? And so make it easier on yourself by just having smaller meals spread out more evenly throughout the day. That's just a quick little tip. If you enjoy eating fewer larger meals, then that's totally fine. But the reason why you're struggling with bulking is probably because you do not enjoy doing that, right? And so I'd advise you to have smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. And yes, this includes eating breakfast. A good hack is like, this is like such a cheat code. Have your homemade gainer shake first thing in the morning, and then you'll be doing easily like 1,000 calories just like down the hatch. And then for the rest of the day, you can just like eat how you normally would, right? So that's a really big cheat code. Or you can have it like before bed or something like that. But yeah, make sure that you do eat breakfast. Do not skip your breakfast and try to space out your meals evenly. Because realistically speaking, like let's say you want to have 3,500 calories every single day. Would you rather eat two 1,750 calorie meals, or would you rather eat like 7 500 calorie meals or something like that, right? Like it's just easier to eat smaller, more frequent meals because you're not gonna be left feeling like super bloated after eating. You're not gonna feel left like feeling lethargic afterwards. You're just gonna eat. It's like, okay, cool, I ate something, I can continue on with my day, as opposed to like you eating like this massive, huge meal of like 1,750 calories 2 times a day. And afterwards, you're gonna feel stuffed, you're gonna feel bloated, you're gonna feel just like tired, you're gonna feel slow and lethargic. And it's just like not an ideal situation to be in, right? At the end of the day, guys, consistency really is the key here. I say this all the time, but it is what you do over a consistent period of time that's going to dictate your long-term results. And so you could have the best day of eating, you could implement all of these tips, and you could do it amazingly for one day. You could do your workout for the day, you could hit your required calorie goal for the day, you could get your 8 hours of sleep in for one day. But then the next day, you're like, okay, you know what? It's like I'm not really feel as hungry anymore. I'm going to skip my breakfast. I'm not going to hit my calorie goal. You are not going to see the results that you're looking for, right? Especially when it comes to building muscle, you have to be consistent. You have to consistently be in a calorie surplus. You can't just be in a calorie surplus for one day and then that's it, it's done. Like, no, you have to do it for weeks and months on end in order for you to actually see the results that you're looking for. So consistency really is the name of the game here. So make sure you do that. Gaining muscle, especially gaining muscle, takes time, patience, and consistency, and it is impossible to see results overnight. So try not to have like a short-term mindset of, okay, if I just have one really good day, that's all that really matters. No, it doesn't. It's all about what you do over weeks and months on end that's going to dictate your results. So whatever method you want to do, whether it's incorporating those gainer shakes, adding more high calorie dense foods to your diets, whatever type of tip you want to implement from this presentation, try to implement in a way that you can do it in a sustainable way. Because let's say you hate drinking those mass gainer shakes and you don't look forward to doing it, then well, don't have those. Like have something else instead. If you don't enjoy eating peanut butter by the tablespoon, then don't do it. Maybe add it to like a piece of bread, add some jam on top as well, make it more flavorful. Like whatever you can do to make the process more enjoyable, the better it'll be, because the chances of you sticking through it and actually staying consistent with it if you enjoy the process will be a lot higher. So that's all that I have for you in today's presentation, my bulking hacks, my bulking tips. Hopefully you guys took something out of this. If you guys do have any questions for me, as always, just let me know and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.